I want to talk with you today about a phenomenon that I suspect many of you have encountered, and that is narcissists have a strong tendency to stay stuck in their narcissism, sometimes throughout their entire life. Why is that? Now, before we go there, I want to give you an illustration. Way back when I was in my 20s, there was a woman that I knew from social circles, etc., that was just kind of known for having a whole lot of emotional highs and lows, lots of drama, multiple broken relationships, family strains and tensions, and emotional, difficulties that she just didn't seem to be able to come to terms with. Now, she was a highly educated person. She did well in her career, and yet there was just always some sort of tension that just seemed to follow her wherever she went. About 30 years went by, and guess what? I encountered this same person again, and as she began talking, I realized she was having a whole lot of relationship difficulties, lots of broken situations, emotional highs and lows, family relations weren't going well, and it's like we could have just hit the replay button. All of the things that she was talking about way back in those the decades prior were going on just in a different kind of setting, but pretty much the same patterns. And it just kind of illustrated to me, and of course I see it here in my counseling office a lot, that there are some people, it's like no matter how much you want to talk with them or how many books you want to throw at them or seminars or counseling they have, they just seem to keep repeating the same patterns over and over. They're stuck in their self-absorbed way of life. Now, when we talk about narcissism, let's remind you what we're referring to. Narcissists are people that have a high need for control. They have low levels of empathy. They tend to be easily exploitive and manipulative. They want to be in the superior position. They have to be in the superior position. They have an attitude of entitlement. They operate with what I call alternate reality. They just kind of make up the facts as they go along. And that being the case, they just don't really have much in the way of maturity, and they don't grow because of all of that. Now, when we begin thinking that exactly what is it about the narcissistic pattern that can keep them stuck in their narcissism, well, I've identified 4 things that I watch for that are just dead ringers that tell us, you're not going to go any place in a forward direction at all. It all begins with this need to be in control. That's such a strong need, and it's usually a compensation for having felt out of control in other relationships. But the number one reason that narcissists can stay stuck in their narcissism is their need for control creates simple-minded thinking. As far as they're concerned, life is supposed to measure up according to an agenda, and wouldn't you happen to know it happens to be their agenda. There's a certain way that people are supposed to behave and think and respond and reply. And so having that agenda-driven mindset, they think just pretty much in black and white, all or nothing kinds of thoughts, and it's very much in a pre-adolescent way of thinking. They just haven't learned to grow out of that. So if you come along and say, well, I have a unique set of circumstances that's associated with my situation over here, or I have these feelings that don't match with your feelings, instead of them saying, well, let's talk. Well, that need to keep things in control takes them to that simple-mindedness. It's like, well, here's what you need to do. And they just go straight to the agenda. They could be bossy and judgmental, insistent, just do what I tell you to do. And then if they don't like what you had to say, they just withdraw and say, forget it. Now, you may be engaging with these people in other kinds of arenas, like you may be trying to co-parent with them, and they just, by the book, they don't consider any kind of nuance, or it may be that as you're engaging with people in the extended family, you've got that one person that just cannot get out of their groove, that everything has to be that person's way, or in business. Life is full of nuance. Life is full of diversity and great difference in the way that we feel and perceive. But the need for control, which is set up by this agenda way of life, just says, look, there's black, there's white, end of discussion. And they stay stuck. A second primary reason that narcissists can remain stuck, and that is they have a pervasive disinterest in the ways other individuals feel. Part of the growth that we can have that gets us away from our self-absorption is to monitor how our actions impact other individuals, and then we make adjustments along the way. For example, you've probably had some moments where you didn't handle anger or conflict really well. And then as you've noticed that other individuals have had a less than wonderful kind of response, okay, you take note of that. All right, next time I'm going to try to handle it differently because I want to factor in my impact on other people. And so you learn how to have an us kind of a mentality. There's a communal kind of mentality. Narcissists, it's like, I don't care about us. I don't care about how you feel. Now, they may try to get inside your thoughts and all just so they can learn how to gain an advantage. But in terms of learning how you feel so that they can better coordinate with you, it's like, but you're not me. And so if you're not me, I don't really care that much about what you feel. The only thing I really care about is you complying with what I want. And so they don't really factor in how other individuals feel. They can't slow down and say, tell me more. Or how did you arrive to that conclusion? Notice when you are in some of your disagreements with narcissists, they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing their agenda. And it's like, well, but I have a perspective. Well, they're just going to walk right over it because they don't care. Now, a third reason that narcissists remain stuck is they have an almost complete inability to receive input, especially on the personal front. This need for control that they have leads directly to what we refer to as the false self. They want to make sure that in order to maintain control, they've constructed an image, and they want you to see them as being a certain kind of person. And because of that, they put walls of defense around so that if you come along and say, well, I noticed something that could be different, or I have a perspective that you might want to consider, instead of them saying, well, sure, I'd always like to get some input. They're thinking, wait a minute, who do you think you're talking to? And they take it as an insult. They simply cannot receive input because in their mind, that means I've just given up a piece of my control. And so that's why you'll hear them say things like, that wasn't true, or that's not how I meant it, or you misunderstood me, or you're disrupting my way of life, or no, this is what happened, not that. And they're constantly in, the mode of trying to establish what the narrative is. And if you don't agree with it, then it just simply means you're wrong. They're in spin control. Image is everything, and that's part of their control. It's driven by insecurity. They cannot receive input. And then a fourth reason that narcissists remain stuck, and that is they simply cannot get beyond their own ego. Their own ego, me, is what drives pretty much anything and everything. They have this attitude of entitlement. I should have certain privileges that other individuals don't. They have to be better than, they want to be smarter than, they want you to know that they have better connections, or they have experiences that trump your experiences. They want to have the final word. They want you to know how accomplished they are, and that leads to them having a condescending attitude toward you. They just can't accept the fact that, well, we're all kind of in the same boat. You have your pluses and minuses just like I have my pluses and minuses. It's like, well, I have my pluses. That's enough. We're not going to talk about my minuses. And they're simply not able to go into that human dimension with you. And common sense says, well, all of this control and all the things that I'm mentioning here, it makes for a very dysfunctional way of life. And if you try to point that out to the narcissist, it's like, no, it doesn't. You just need to live like me. I've got the tiger by the tail here, when in fact they don't. So, when we go back and ask, can narcissists change? Well, maybe a few can. And if they do, typically it's because there was some really bad crisis point. Most of them, though, are so stuck in the grooves with these four issues that I've mentioned that they're going to remain as they are. And if you wait 30 years and can reconnect with them again like I did with that person, you're probably going to hear kind of the same old. That being the case, let's underscore, when you're with these people, know what you're dealing with and establish your expectations accordingly. You want to refuse to get into any kind of relationship that requires you to expose your personal issues because they don't know how to do the personal thing right. And so if you talk to them about personal issues and feelings and needs and hurts, they'll just use it against you. So with these individuals, you just more or less keep it the facts. I'm just going to stick with the facts. I'm not going to any kind of depth with you because you don't know how to do depth. And then if they try to draw you into arguments about your opinions or your beliefs or your lifestyle habits, have 0 point counterpoint discussions with them, because if you give a point, they give a counterpoint, guess whose counterpoint's going to win? They're going to beat you every time. They'll just try to bury you into the ground. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't state your beliefs or your preferences or your interpretations and opinions. Go ahead and stand up for yourself. You don't want to be intimidated by these individuals. In fact, it may be good for you to hear yourself say, this is who I am, this is what I think and feel. But then again, don't go with the expectation it's going to change them. You don't have to justify yourself. I'm just going to stand upon who I am. You may be anything you want because you're going to be there anyway. Now, these people are kind of on a circular train, if you will, and the destination is Crazyville. They're treating you in this stuck kind of way. They've been this way before you showed up, and they'll continue to be this way after you're long gone. And so when they invite you to go on this circular train to Crazyville, how about if we just say, I'm under no obligation to jump aboard that train. No, thank you. Now, I do hope that you get value from a video such as this, and if you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button. We'll keep more coming your way. I know some of you have the need to unpack some of your experiences and your emotions and strategies with people like this, and you need some to do that with a licensed professional counselor. And frankly, right now, online counseling has become extremely popular. We've vetted a group, and we have a link below that if you have that need, I would strongly encourage you to avail yourself to that so that you won't be stuck. In addition, we have links to our library that has our books in it, and we have our other websites, survivingnarcissism.tv, lots of good stuff on there, drlescarter.com, and then we have links to our online video workshops as well. Now, the narcissist is stuck, but you don't have to be. I'm hoping that you're in a growth mode that allows you to be someone that does know how to have nuance with other individuals, and you know how to enter into the personal dimension with people who know what to do in reverse with you. Give plenty of encouragement or give plenty of emphasis and initiative to that. And in doing so, I'm hoping you can find a great deal of satisfaction, and ultimately that's going to be one of the primary drivers that takes you to your destination of peace.